All right, so my name is Raquel Wilson. I am the proud program manager of the Youth Voices Rising's program. I am happy to have all of you guys here today to, and be in tune for a positive conversation, a little bit different from some of the hard discussion topics that we, speak about, where we will be speaking to panelists that are current and former foster youth and their special person that helped change their life or help guide them lead them into a successful pathway. And so the Youth Voice Rising program, through educational workshops, writing poetry contests, which we have happening right now, please get your submission in. We have paid contributor roles, internship roles, and just providing more direct services to foster youth to better support transitional age youth, in addition to our back to school drive that we're getting ready to start for the next year. Youth Voice Risings provide writing opportunities to young people. We train and teach journalism and media, basically teach foster youth and those who've been impacted by the juvenile justice system and homelessness, how to turn their lived experiences into publishable pieces that ultimately become published on the imprint and our magazine out print, Fostering Families Today. And so I want to thank everybody for being here to stay in tune with all of the wonderful things that we do here at Youth Voices Rising. Please feel free to follow us on our newsletter and also stay in tune. We have a wonderful social media platform where we dish out a lot of information and you can stay informed. Please feel free to follow us on those platforms as well. At this time, you should see a poll pop up on your screen. And this is just for us to recognize who you are, where you're from, how did you hear about us, so that I could just make sure as the proud program manager that I'm doing my due diligence to get the word out and to continue to not only engage foster youth to welcome them into this safe space, but also, provide them the confidence to ultimately, one day be a panelist and be a part of these discussions. And so please let us know what are you representing? If you're a current foster youth, if you're a resource parent, social worker, you work with foster youth, please let us know if there's others that we may have missed, and how did you hear about us? We definitely would like to know. We're just going to allow some time for others to join in, and then we will share those results of that poll. And Sarah, I see folks with their hands raised. And so I'm not sure if people are having trouble. Okay, no one's really was having trouble with putting their stuff in the chat, but I do see people's with their hands raised. And so we do have some foster youth here. We do have some kinship parents. I love that there's so many social workers and attorneys always, showing up to participate in these conversations is definitely needed. I'm looking forward to meeting and working with some of you guys. We have some good events happening next year. One of them is going to be based with positive relationships and social workers, and how social workers and attorneys can flourish and cultivate those relationships. So definitely please show up and stick around. I see a few people with their hands raised, Sarah, and so I'm not sure why, but I want to make sure that we could. Let's check it. I'm not sure if people are having trouble logging into the chat, but I do see people with their hands raised, so the chat won't open on your end. Okay. So we are having a technical difficulty with the chat. And Sarah, you might have to just go back into the settings and see if you can change it. But if not, we'll just roll with the punches. All right. So to introduce our panelists, first of all, I want to thank our panelists. These are some of our Youth Voice participants that have been around since I have been, since I first started in the program. And so I'm very, very proud to have all three of these panelists here. And I'm proud to have them introduce their invitees. So without further ado, we first have up Tamar, who is an advocate for foster youth and teen parents. She is the mission ambassador of Good News and at Doing Good Works, which helps employ and give resources to foster youth aging out of the system. She plans to open an art therapy business after completing graduate school, which she hopes will provide a comfortable way for youth to open up and express themselves. Tamar is joined by her social worker slash foster, joined by her mentor. I'm so sorry. And Tamar is going to introduce her mentor in a second. I'm going to also introduce Yusuf, born and raised in, I want to say this right, Wichita. I hope I'm saying this right, in Kansas. Yusuf is a former, did I say it right, Yusuf?
Wichita, Kansas.
Wichita. So yeah, that definitely messed that up all the way up. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. So Yusuf is a former foster youth leader turned staff member at Kansas-based juvenile justice organization, Progny. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Through his personal experiences, Presley understands how the Kansas system impacts youth. He entered the foster care system at the age of 5 and experienced hundreds of placements before being adopted in 2009. Yusuf, re-entered the system through juvenile justice in 2012. His experiences informed his expertise on the foster care to prison pipeline. Presley hopes his work will help ensure foster youth do not experience the hardship and lack of governance he endured in the system. He currently sits on the national level as a youth representative on the CLASP, which is the Center of Law and Social Policy team, and is an alumni youth leader for the national organization Youth First. Yusuf was recently granted the Open Society Foundation Soros Justice Fellowship Grant, which he will use to fund a documentary about his time in Kansas foster care system. Presley is joined by his mentor as well, and also his boss, as he shared with me this morning, and he's going to have the opportunity to introduce you as well. And so last but certainly not least, we have Dominique Ross, and Dominique is a photographer, an advocate for, and a former foster youth from South Los Angeles. Ross is currently attending Santa Monica College, majoring in photography. The challenges he faced during his childhood and kinship care allowed him to persevere in his adult life. He doesn't believe in excuses, but rather continuous growth at any level. Ross is joined by his mentor as well. I would like to pass it over to Tamar first. And so Tamar, could you briefly share with us your foster care experience, and then also please introduce Lucy, your mentor.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I was in foster care when I was younger. I aged out when I was like 13, so I didn't age out as a Tay youth, but I was in care taken from my parents. I had a really complicated history. I was with my mom, so I had a single mom, and then I was taken from her and then eventually placed back with my father, where I was raised by a single dad. So I kind of have this weird trifecta family experience growing up. I had a little bit of everything, and it was all very confusing and traumatic, and it left me feeling very hopeless, which led me to having a teen pregnancy when I was 15. And no one really helped with the trauma from when I was in foster care. And I believe that did play a part in when I got pregnant emotionally. And I also didn't have the educational resources to understand what impact that would have on my life. Looking back now, obviously I'm in a way different place, but I think that one of the most important aspects that in my life that was lacking was definitely the future side. No one was there once I was put back in my home, which I know a lot of people experience this since I do work with people who are Tay youth. The system just gives up on you, and they never check in on you. They don't ask like how you're doing, give you resources. And I remember, I was never checked in on again once I was back with my home with my father, and he was very absentee. So it was basically like I was raising myself and then a child at 15. So when I decided to go back to college and pursue my degree, I had no idea what I was doing, and there were no programs for me. And I remember I finally was getting in touch with my Guardian Scholars program at my college campus, which really changed my life. If it weren't for that program, I don't think that I would be anywhere near what I'm accomplishing today. And I have it all to thank them. And no one was there to tell me about it. It was my psychology professor, and I was like, oh, I identify as former foster youth. I need a support system. And from there, things just started changing positively for my life. And I was able to connect with Lucy, who I view as just such a powerhouse of a woman. She has been there for me above and beyond what is expected of her. She is a part of a program called Ready to Succeed, which helps create career pathways for youth. And it's also about that mentorship and guidance aspect. And she has really done more than I think anyone would do in their job. And that's why I invited her here today, because I would love for her to just share how she's helped me and how she's helped so many other students. And what she does is absolutely phenomenal. And sometimes I'm like, I wish everyone had like a little pocket Lucy, for their life. So yeah, that's a little bit about her. And thank you, Raquel.
Thank you so much, Tamar. Lucy, could you please come on and share with us, briefly about your work that you do and how you got involved in your work as well.
Thank you. Tamar is always being so kind. That would be way too many Lucys. Thank you for having me on. I work for Ready to Succeed. I've been with them for 6 years, since really our founding days. And we're a career accelerator. We work with foster youth and first gen to really help them explore what's possible in the career path. So we're focused on opportunities, connecting them to great people, and really being them for them. And Tamara and I have worked together, whether it's exploring how she can get into communications, whether it's doing her resume, but through all of those doing activities, Tamar has allowed me to, what I like to call, nag her a lot. She has shared her story, and I have shared mine with her. And I have a young son also, so we talk often about motherhood and things that have nothing to do with career, but are so intricately related. And so that's been my wonderful experience. And I think I have learned much more from Tamar than I have shared with her. So I think that's been the key to our relationship, is just my listening and my learning, and just being really open to all of the experiences that she shares.
Thank you so much, Lucy, and thank you so much for all of the work that you do, helping former foster youth like myself and Tamar and our other panelists. And so thank you. I want to pass that same question over to Dominique. So Dominique, can you briefly share a little bit about your experience and then introduce your mentor? And then could your mentor please share about their background and how they got into the work field?
Awesome. Good morning, everybody. My experience in the foster care system. So I grew up in kinship care. My aunt was fortunately enough to raise me due to my mom being on drug addiction. So that played a big fact. I didn't know my mom was doing drugs until I turned like 18. Because she kind of protected me from seeing that. I remember growing up seeing like a lady trying to come see me, or she just didn't want me to see that side of life for me. It wasn't until I was able to like decide do you want to live with your mom or do you want to live with your aunt after aging out of foster care, to really see that side of a parent be a drug addict. But on the positive side, mom I only had like maybe 2 to 3 different social workers, and all of them looked out for me, whether it was having my first job at 16, whether it was me being involved in certain activities growing up, and then as well, my aunt just always was a great role model to work hard. She worked like every day, well, Monday through Friday, but she didn't complain. She played a great a figure for me to be a hard worker who I am today, when it means to get up and go get it, with no excuses. She took care of me and her own children, and I wasn't treated differently, So Christmas came around, it was which it was about me too. Birthday was celebrated. So I'm grateful for her because yeah, we hear about so many different experiences. But yeah, before I get into it, Sydney Stewart has been a great mentor to me. She runs a nonprofit called Better Youth. She is the co-founder and executive director, right? Um, and yeah, she's just always been a great positive instrument in my life as far as pushing me forward to do photography. Kind of leaving a lot out because it's like bad at these things. But yeah, I've been on Sydney. I forget how many years, 4 or 5 years, probably more. Um, yeah, she's so positive, always uplifting. Whenever we talk, it's always positive. It's always great feedback. She gives me the real. And yeah, she's helped so many other foster youth follow their dreams and pursue their dreams. She hired me for events before. There's nothing like having someone put money in your pocket, especially during times like this. But yeah, you guys, hope that touches on it. If I left out anything, please feel free to leave questions in the chat box. But yeah, thank you.
Miss Stewart, we'll pass it on over to you.
Thank you. I think, yeah, that was it, Dominique. Yeah, my name is Sid Stewart. I'm a filmmaker and writer. I'm the founder and executive director of Better Youth and the co-founder of Real to Real Global, which is a foster youth driven platform. But in terms of Better Youth, we're a creative youth development agency for foster youth ages 16 to 24. We offer mentoring, social emotional mentoring, personal and professional development, and career pathway exploration in the creative economy that includes tech and entertainment. I work in entertainment as well. And I just think, Better Youth is a way of kind of marrying your purpose with your passion. And how I got into this work is being recruited. I mean, being pulled into this work by foster youth. I started off working in Watts, running an after school program for Beyond the Bell and LAUSD, and kind of took a survey on what youth really needed. I mean, sometimes I think that we assume what young people need instead of like asking them and bringing them to the table. And yeah, foster youth brought me to the table, and I was able to better inform my work and the purpose of my organization by being informed by young people, which is why Better Youth is youth centric. And I love this platform. Youth voice is so central to the work that we do. And we often leave them out of the equation. And so, yeah, the Raquels of the world, when you were 17, and, Dominique and Janae and Autumn and, all the other young people who have been founding members of Better Youth have contributed to the work that we do because they have agency in Better Youth. And so that's how I got pulled into the work. And I don't even call it work. I think it's a purpose, it's a life mission. And I'm glad to be here. So thank you, Dominique, for inviting me.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. So happy to have you and to have your support. And you always show up for me and always show up for everybody. So I just really, really appreciate you for always just circling back around and just being here when we call on you. And so thank you. And so last but certainly not least, I would like to pass it over to Yusuf. So Yusuf, could you please share with us some of your foster care experiences and then introduce Marquetta. Marquetta, I hope I said that correctly. I'm so sorry. Correct me if I said it wrong. Who is your mentor as well?
Yes, my name is Yusuf Presley. I first went into the foster care system at the age of 5 for abuse in home. And I was in a little over 9 to 10 years before my aunt came and adopted me, similar to Dominique, how he was adopted by his aunt. So I was in and out of the system. Went to juvenile homes, foster care homes, group homes, and I was placed on a lot of um, medication that I really particularly couldn't handle. That was too strong for me, and I was having like behavioral problems off that medication, and as a result, that caused for me to not have like stable care because I was having behavioral issues with medication and being too doped up on meds. So as a result, I've been to over 100 foster homes and group homes combined. And before being adopted by my aunt, and when she took me in, she gave me a love that I wasn't experiencing in the system. She treated me like a child.
Oh, Yosef, I think your volume went out.
I hate this computer.
There it is.
I'm back. Can you tell me where I left off at? I'm not sure where it starts.
You should probably start from, after your experience with, being, prescribed drugs. And that's also one of my experiences, the different homes that you went into. You were transitioning into how you met and y'all relationship.
Oh yeah. So I went to juvenile penitentiary. After I was released from there, I was placed on like a probation, and when I was placed on that, it kind of transferred over to like adulthood. And so when I met Marquita, I think I want to say like 2018, I met Marquita. She brought me on a progeny, and she started to mentor me. And I was having all these troubles with court and things, and just struggling all around. And she just took me under her wing and mentored me and helped me find legal resources, helped me hire an attorney. And she just, for me growing up in the system, I wasn't attached to my mom. I didn't have a relationship to my mom. And so she's been a motherly figure to me. I can call Marquita in the middle of the night and say, this is what's going on. I'm panicking. This is what's happening. I have complete faith that she'll answer. My mom, I don't have that same amount of confidence and faith there. So, you can just from that example, you can tell how much she's meant to me throughout my life. And I'm just very thankful for her. And speaking of her, I would like to welcome her on board.
Thank you, Yusuf. My name is Marquita Atkins. I'm the founder and executive director of Destination Innovation, Inc., which is a hub of youth leadership development. We're home to 3 programs. So the one that Yusuf is speaking to is Progeny. Progeny are youth touched by the juvenile justice system that we're teaching advocacy, how to change policy in the way it impacts them, teaching them leadership. The reason why these young people chose the name Progeny is because they want people, adults, to understand we are what you created. Progeny is what we created. So they can't just be thrown away. And then we have Camp Destination Innovation that teaches kids entrepreneurship and STEM, and Root the Power that teaches kids about civic engagement. Basically, we want young people to understand their place in this world and how systems work and how systems impact them. And we believe firmly that we have far too many conversations about the future without the future at the table. And so we bring the future to the table right now. We want young people to stand in their power. The name was Destination Innovation, Inc. And with Yusuf, I met Yusuf, like you said, 2017, 2018, he was referred to me by one of his teachers that he used to go to West with. And Yusuf came in like he was just energy. Um, Despite everything that he has gone through, Yusuf brings a positive energy, the smile into the space. And no matter what in life has tried to beat him up so many times, every time he takes 10 steps forward, the system tries to drag him backwards. And what's amazing to me is that as soon as he gets back out, he's like, let's go, let's work. Let's work. And he jumps right back in, right where he started at, and just gives his full energy to Progeny and to the work. And not just Progeny, he works for DI now. He's been mentoring kids in Camp DI, learning entrepreneurship. He's worked with Root the Power to learn civic engagement. He's on staff, and so he's a youth leader, and he's just doing all these amazing things. And so watching him grow into the man that he's becoming, I think allowing these young people, and not just these young people, us, to own our humanity in this journey. Neither one of us are perfect. We're all going through life. I'm not going to pretend like I'm this perfect human being that's doing the right thing every single day. We don't front. When we have tension, we work through it because we're both learning and growing together. So it's just not his journey that I'm like this champion for. We champion each other. And I think that's what makes our relationship special, is because we both get to own our humanity on this journey.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I want to save some of the tear stuff for the last, because I know I'll be getting teary. I get the crying in the beginning and we won't make it through the event. Praise the Lord. So I want to pass this question to Yusuf. Yusuf, what did your person do differently in comparison to the other people you met, other social workers, other mentors? You shared a experience briefly about, the lack of connection that you had with your mom, and how Marquetta was that for you. How did that influence, your decisions and, your experiences and your pathway, to help guide you, and just let you know that she was somebody that you can, always rely on.
One of the things I can say about Makita is like she's been very patient with me, with just all around with some of the things, because young people, they go through things and they deal with different, I think I've been in 3 different phases of my life since I've met her, maybe even more. And she's had patience with me and helped me work through my issues at each phase of my life, and she's she has a saying, we meet youth where they're at. That's very true. She's met me at every phase that I've been in life, and when I'm depressed, I know I can call her and she'll lift my spirits. It's just so much to it that she's been like, when someone comes into your life and like, it's almost like I feel like I owe her something, because the amount of value that she's brought to my life for me. I'm sorry, somebody in my door.
And I just want to counter him when he say that. The only thing that you owe me is being happy in your life and being successful. That's it. And I want under the young people that I mentor, I want them to understand that this is not no IOU. Where we find joy, or where I feel like a real mentor finds joy, is when you see the young people that you work with being successful and happy and content with their lives. And that's how we win. That's it. And give me a shout out one day. You know what I'm saying? If your documentary wins an award, just say shout out to Marquita. But other than that, you don't owe me a thing. And that's real mentoring. Again, let's get back to that humanity aspect of it. And at Progeny, we say our stories are bigger than the box you try to put us in, and our stories are our swords and not our crutches. And so I want him to wield his story like a sword, and have power in that. I'm just happy that he allows me to be a part of this journey.
Yes. Oh, I just feel your passion through the phone, and I'm just so grateful to have you here, and to have had, Yusuf experience that type of level of commitment and support, that I know so many foster youth are yearning for, and trying to find that one person. So thank you so much for your dedication and all your work. And so I want to pass that same question over to Tamar and Dominique. So Tamar, how was, what was different about Lucy? What did she do different in comparison to, your other mentors and other people that you came across, along your journey? And, what made you feel like that, that she was the person that, you could always rely on or always call on? And then we'll follow up with Dominique after.
Yeah. So I remember it all kind of started. I went to my guardian scholars, and through them, I started finding out all these different resources available to me, and one of them being Ready to Succeed. And I remember I had a conversation with my just general career advisor at college, and she looked at me and she's like, you have nothing valuable, like nothing about. And I'm like, I've been on like fight or flight, my whole life. And I'm like, I haven't been able to really focus on my career and like, what do I even want to do? Like, I was just like, I don't know, like I'm in school, I thought that was good enough, like, and I remember it, like, I'm very passionate person. Like when someone tells me like I can't do something, I'm like, no, I'm going to, and I'm going to do it like 100 times better than you too. Like I'm really competitive like that. And I remember I found Ready to Succeed. I'm like, oh, this is great, and I went into it like not really sure what it would be because I never had like a formal mentorship like that. And I've had similar ones, but nothing that was more personable life skills, like it was always just felt kind of fake in a way. And when I met Lucy, I was just like, we bonded right away and we both brought like this energy. And it was really insane not feeling like someone who had a hard past, like I wasn't a former foster youth, I wasn't a teen parent, I wasn't a first gen, like I was just me and I was someone who wanted to get here. And then Lucy was there to just be like, okay, well, we're gonna do, A, B, C, D, E, and just like showed me like the light in myself, like she didn't make me feel like I had to be under a rock my whole life. That it's okay to, have those conversations with people that I want to when it comes to for a career, as an example. But she was also there for those, long conversations and just like ranting and maybe it's not professional, but she was there for it and no judgment ever, it was always just like she treated me like I would say a person, like someone in her personal life versus just another student that she had. And I feel to this day, I always will feel like this, like I'm special, like my God complex is like screaming from how she makes me feel. And I feel like every mentor needs to bring that energy into a mentorship with a student, especially someone who's coming from trauma, because sometimes we need someone to make us feel a little extra special, like we need that person that we know we can call and they'll be like uplifting us. And I have many people like that in my life now, but I think that Lucy was one of the first ones that showed me what good mentorship is and what it's like to not be judged by an adult, like someone like pointing the finger at you like, oh, you're just that. And for me, being a young mom too, my son's now 5 and I'm 21. It's really crazy because even though I had a kid, people still would treat me like a kid because I was one, but I kind of never had that relationship with anyone to where I felt like an adult. I felt heard and seen. So thank you, Lucy, for being all of those things for me.
Absolutely love you, Tamar. Thank you so much for sharing. And so I really just, I appreciate you, Tamar, and I'm hoping that could be one of those people. As soon as you are like I see you like me, like how I was for how Miss Stewart was for me, hosting webinar events like this, and then calling on me or Lucy to show up for you, in the same light, because Tamar definitely has been here with me with Foster Media Connections from like the very beginning, and then since then we didn't like just took off and our pathways just keep crossing. And so I'm so proud of you. And I'm happy that you found your person that can help, see you as you are, which is a beautiful, smart, and intelligent powerhouse. And so, yes, thank you so much, Tamar, for sharing. And I would like to pass that same question over to Dominique. So Dominique, what did Ms. Stewart do differently in comparison to other mentors? What made you, understand or acknowledge that, she was someone that you can always rely on. You spoke, briefly about, her, always reaching back out to you for word and, that being something that, that commitment being something that's special to you. So could you elaborate a little bit more on that and what it is that she did differently that, impacted your life?
Yes, I believe it's just important to have someone around you that is a mentor, someone you can look up to that you consider a strong Black woman or is leading by example, right? By positivity, that when you tell them you do something like photography and you're taking it serious, it's not a hobby. It's like there's something I want to do as a career. I've been doing it for like 4 or 5 years, right? And you tell someone that it's possibly connected, but they make sure you're working on your professionalism, whether that is on how you talk in meetings, certain people you meet in networking events. How is that coming off in the room? So before I go off on a tangent, it's just important to have someone to believe in you when you say you want to do something. I just think that that's important. And, Sydney is someone, obviously she works in entertainment, and that just felt like, okay, great. Like I can connect with her and we work together, and just someone that is that can be a part of my mission, my journey, and my career. So yeah, Sydney has been a great, positive, uplifting, warm, kind person. I can go on and on. Um, but yeah, I believe that touches on it.
I want
Yes.
to say something,
Okay.
Dominique. So you remember when we saw each other after the pandemic, we were at a Foster Nation
Oh
event,
yes, yes.
and I hadn't seen you in 2 years. I don't think, the pandemic caused us all to be so separate.
Mhm.
I know that when you were in the program, we were trying to identify your career track, but I remember when you shared your portfolio and, they were like, oh, Dominique takes pictures, but it's like, okay, yeah, that's cool. And then I remember looking at your portfolio and was like, oh no, you take pictures. Like you are a photographer. It's a difference. I take pictures like with my cell phone, but like with you, you have an eye. I remember you had some rooftop photos. And in that moment, I realized, yeah, no, you do this professionally. I think it's important to validate, right? To validate that skill set. And I remember us exploring, you also have a producer acumen as well. So you're really about, your aunt did a great job because you really are about your business, which is great. But I think what's important too is that when we know young people have a skill or a talent, we have to validate that. Like I love what you said, Marquita. Like everything you said, I don't even need to repeat because it also brought tears to my eyes. And Lucy, what you're saying with Tamar, and I connected with Tamar recently. But I think when we know something about young people, validate it, put money behind it. Like Dominique said, like, we have stipends and we have opportunities to employ our youth. And Dominique, let me tell you, the event that you just did for us, December 2nd, you did an amazing job. I mean, when I say you did an amazing job, you captured the entire event. You are really good. And let me say it on this platform, you are a professional. And that's why I kept shouting you out. This is a program alum. He's a professional photographer to Skydance and to whomever was there. But I think it's important when we know about our young people and who they are, that we blast it out, shamelessly. Like, this is one of mine. This is Dominique. This is one of mine. And when I saw you at that Foster Nation event, I realized we were family. It was that moment that I realized, no, you're more than a program alum. You're more than just coming through Better Youth and taking a course. When I saw you after 2 years, in that room, there was a warmth that we had that I realized in that moment, right? Because sometimes kids come through the program and they go on and you're happy that you touched them. But when I saw you, Dominique, and we hugged, and when you walked away and you said, I love you, I knew we were family. That meant a lot to me. And I love you. I want you to know that I'm very proud of you and I love you. But I knew in that moment we were more than mentee and mentor. We were family. And that's important. That's important.
I just want to thank you so much, Miss Stewart, and all of you guys. I knew by the time we made it to like the fourth question, we was gonna get very emotional. And I appreciate it and I welcome it. I think that these conversations are authentic. That's why I waited until the last minute to send you guys the questions, because I didn't even want you guys to have time to go over them and rehearse anything. I wanted it to be natural, just like this. And so just thank you guys for just being open and vulnerable. And sharing, just to just chime in to segue into my next question, because Ms. Stewart mentioned that I've been knowing her since I was 17, and Ms. Stewart, like Yusuf said, when she found me, whoa, boy, I was like a jack of all behaviors. That's what I would say. I was a jack of all behaviors and all trades. And Dominique said something very special about, her sticking around and, teaching you the professional stuff and, giving you the guiding tools to help, you walk down your pathway. And I wouldn't be working here at Foster Media Connections. I remember Ms. Stewart sent me a job like, hey, apply for this now. And I'm like, okay. I'll do it, and it was an editor role. And then unbeknownst to me, when I walked into the interview, the founder of FMC happened to be there, and he just kind of gave me this, interview on the spot and asked all these questions and, tell me about this Youth Voice program that, they needed assistance with. And, now, I just have been able to use all of the things and all of the tools that you have taught me, Ms. Stewart, to now be the Ms. Stewart to other people like Tamar and like Dominique, like to Yusuf, like you was to me. And so, and to segue into this question, my next question for all of our mentors, why is it important for others in your field, social workers, resource parents, attorneys, to cultivate positive relationships, and go above and beyond their job duties? Often, we meet social workers who, and I honestly believe that everybody gets into this field, because they actually care and they want to do things, but somehow the system drives you into, doing bad things or not showing up in the way that you are supposed to show up. But then I also know that some people have, fought an uphill battle, to ensure that the people around them have the resources and have the connections, even risk their jobs. And so, why is it important for people in your field that serve foster youth in fields that serve foster youth to cultivate positive relationships? What did you guys think that y'all did differently? And our panelists have shared, wonderful things that they think that you guys did differently. But what is it, some of the things that you guys think that you did differently to not only engage Yusuf and Dominique and Tamar, but to engage other foster youth, that you have worked with? And, how is your approach to work differently than others? And so I'll pass that over to Marquita to answer first.
I listen. I think that's the biggest thing. I listen, even when it hurts me, even when I don't agree with them, I listen. Because sometimes, and you hit on it when you were talking, Raquel, sometimes we become the very systems that we're fighting against. And I am conscious of not becoming the system that we are actively fighting against. And so listening to the cues that the young people are telling me when it's feeling like, this doesn't feel good, or I don't like when you did this, or just, even though it's some things I know as an adult that I have to do, we still don't know how we project to them, and recognizing the fact that these young people have been through trauma. Who am I to say you should just trust me? We got to build up that trust. We got to cultivate that trust. And when you know that a young person has been damaged, there's so many adults walking around damaged right now. And it takes till we're grown and I've touched on this, we have to have a nervous breakdown and realize that we're still coping with stuff we went through as a kid. How can we expect them to be better than us? And so active listening, giving them opportunity, like you said, I don't want to be a person that's coming in to save the day. I'm not caping for you. You can cape for yourself. We don't create leaders. Life creates leaders. What we do is we give them a platform and we give them the encouragement to realize their leader that lies within them. So I don't come in here like I'm trying to save kids or like I'm trying to, I can fix you. No, life experience. We're going to give you platforms. We're going to give you resources. We're going to give you opportunity. We're going to give you a voice, not give you a voice. Let's say this right. We're going to give you a space to utilize your voice. I will go hard for our kids and for our young people. And so I think it's so important that we listen and we act and we fight against becoming the systems that we're fighting against, because we live in this world that puts so much pressure, especially when you are a person of color running an organization. There's so many hoops that you have to jump through to give funding and to do the work. And so we got to try to separate the stress of that and how it impacts the youth that we serve and center them in everything.
Thank you so much. I really can listen to you talk all day. Like I just love hearing you. Like you got so much passion when you speak. It makes me teary-eyed. Every question that you've been asking, I'm like holding back the tears behind my glasses. And so I really appreciate your dedication, and just you showing up, and doing it. I know it's not easy. We putting out fires, a lot of fires in the background. But, just being that person for someone, and just understanding, just listening is the first thing, the first step. I think that, us growing up and being trauma impacted, a lot of people used to always say, Raquel, you so angry. And y'all can ask Miss Stewart, I was a fighter, like literally nobody could tell me nothing. You'll be surprised some of the things that I didn't left off my unprofessional resume, I would say. But those things helped make me who I was. And I felt like that a lot of people around me, was, looking at why I was angry, but nobody was ever asking me why, and I appreciate Miss Story because we went through a lot of diversity, but she never gave up on me. Like, she always circled back to me. And sometimes some of these babies just be needing an extra hug and an extra, like, how you doing? And an extra, like, let me just check in with you. Let's not talk about the business and the program. How are you mentally? And I feel like, that's the important, that's the key importance. So with that being said, I want to pass that over to Ms. Stewart. And then Lucy, please feel free to follow up right behind Ms. Stewart on, why it's important for others in the field that serve foster youth to, cultivate positive relationships, and what it is that you did differently, in addition to some of the things that our panelists mentioned. And, how is your approach, and what is it about your approach that works?
So thank you for those words, Raquel, and Marquita. Thank you. I think because I didn't have a background in working with youth, I'm an artist, so I didn't really know the rules, right? So I think sometimes we come into a space where there's all these rules and you can't do this. And, I respect rules in terms of working with young people. So I've done my training, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about approaching it from an authentic space and responding and not reacting to youth, right? When you respond and you create a space that allows young people to be, like you say, we're not trying to cape for them. We're not trying to rescue them, because the superheroes are in the room already, right? When you walk in, they're the superheroes already. So they're responsible for advocating for themselves. They already have capes on. So you have to listen and you have to be aware. You have to open your eyes. But I think for me, because, I came from a creative angle, that I didn't know I couldn't say, I love you, Dominique. Like, I love you, and I'm gonna say that because I know you need to hear that. And so we have these programs that have all these boxes, and these kids are stuck in this place, and you think you're reaching them, but you're not. They still need your love. They still need to know that they matter. They still need to know, I love you. And I'm not afraid of saying that in a program. I approach from love, honestly, because God is love, and I use him as a guide. And so, all these rules, and you can't do this and you can't do that. We're a creative agency, and we're going to create a space that is right for these young people. That's a sanctuary that's going to give them everything they need. And yeah, so it's more like out of the box creative youth development, because that's what they need. Because again, like Marquita said, we become that system. You become just another version of another organization that's not doing anything different than what everybody else is doing. And why be in the space if you're going to do that, right? Where's the breakthrough that's possible when you bring truth, love, and honesty to a place where you create a sanctuary where young people can be, right? Where they can't be that anywhere else, because there's all these regulations and these rules, and that's cool. And I think that works for some organizations. But for us, I'm gonna tell you, I love you. You're gonna know that, right? You're gonna know that coming in the door, whether I say it or whether you feel it. I'm gonna create a space that lets you know at the end of the day, I'm gonna be here for you. We're gonna be here for you. And whatever it's called, being a coach or a mentor or whatever, at the end of the day, it's consistency, right? And we all know what love is. It's kind, it's patient, it doesn't keep a record of right and wrongs, and it's always there. It's consistent. And so I think coming from a space where I didn't know all of that, I didn't know, all of that, it's just has helped me to kind of come from we have an omnidirectional approach, where it's like, sometimes I'm a student, most of the time I'm a student. The young people are the teachers, right? They have the life experience that I need to learn from. So I listen, I learn, and I love at the end of the day.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Thank you. Oh my gosh, you guys are killing it today. You know, you guys are killing it today. Lucy, please offer your feedback and share your experience and, you know, why it's important for, you know, persons that serve foster youth like yourself to cultivate positive relationships. And in addition to all of the great things Tamar said about you, Lucy, and the wonderful things you do at the Ready to Succeed program, you know, what is it different about your approach?
How can I follow that? It's impossible. Marquita said, and I think it's also called human, being a human. I also didn't know the rules. I came from an HR and career coaching space. I didn't know anything about foster youth. And I think the listening part that Marquita touched upon so beautifully is really critical. But the other piece that has helped me personally, and I think Tamar alluded to this, is accountability. I didn't know the rules, so I hold the line. And Tamar knows if she's 5 minutes late for our meeting, she's going to know about it. I hold the space for her to show up in whatever way, as with all of our scholars, but I hold them accountable. And I always ask, what's your dream? But also, what's the reality of getting to the dream? And so we have these real conversations. And I think what RTS does well and what I've tried to do in working with youth, I'd never worked with youth before in different capacities, younger youth, but not college age youth and not foster youth. And what we really try to do is meet them where they are. So, you know, if Tamar is not ready to, you know, go for these fancy internships that we were like trying to squeeze down her throat, like that's not the right approach. And so we learned that our assumptions were incorrect and that we really needed to listen and to steward them for the opportunities that were right, because mental health is a professional responsibility. You cannot show up for a job or an internship if you have other things that are happening in your life, and you have to put those first. And so really being there and listening, but also showing youth that you will go to the ends of the earth for them. And I think Tamar knows that, and everyone that I work with. I took a sabbatical these last 4 weeks because I needed one for myself. And I remember Tamar and I chatting one night at 8 o'clock after a webinar and really talking about the challenges and why I had to step away from this work. And that is because I care so much about the work. But I think it's accepting that the people you work with, the young people, they're people, and this is not your journey. And oftentimes mentors think, right, they get so excited to make an impact. But like Marquita said, like you have to stand back and you have to share and adjust and give the space. And sometimes your advice is not needed or not wanted. And being able to have those difficult conversations where maybe it's not being received, or maybe you're being told like, hey, I don't need to hear this right now, but just being a learner and being a student in the process. And I think that's helped a lot. And Tamar has saved a lot of space for me too, and has given me the trust to push her, right, Tamar? I mean, I'm a little pushy. I've had to take it back a notch, but I think the youth that I work with have responded well. Like, I'm going to push you. If you tell me that's where you want to go, I'm going to look at your stuff at 10 o'clock at night. I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to send it to everyone we know. I'm going to help you try to get the job. And now Tamar on her own, you know, but with confidence, is going to NBC Universal, and she starts in 3 weeks. And it's like, you know, but that's her confidence building over the years in herself, and maybe with a little, you know, nagging voice of me and many other mentors she has saying like, you can do it. If you want this, like, go for it. If you don't get it, it's about the journey. Like, you should go and do it.
Oh, thank you, Lucy. And keep on pushing her, because she knows. Tomorrow, I ain't heard from you in 3 days. What's happening with you? What's going on? She knows. I will definitely, most certainly push her to the T. And we be having real life. I'm like, Tamar, you're doubting yourself right now. And you ain't supposed to call me doubting yourself now. I got to lift you up in spirit. And you better be sending me text messages telling me when you need something. She knows. So keep doing what it is that you're doing. So at least that, all of that don't fall on me when she's walking around feeling impatient with her little tomorrow attitude, thinking that the world is against her when all we want her to do is be that bright light that we see her. And I'm so I'm like literally proud of all of you guys. I haven't had the opportunity to connect with Yusuf on that level like Tamar and Dominique, but he is a part of my Foster and Justice Council. So that type of engagement is just it's coming. It's soon to come. It's definitely going to come. And so thank you so very much. I also would like to combine our next question and open it up to all of our panelists. And so in regards to mentorship and the importance of mentorship, what do you guys think about mentorship? Why do you guys think it's important, you find mentorship, well after they're exiting the system, and why is mentorship important, to just provide resources to foster youth and et cetera. And so Lucy, I'll start with you, and then you guys can basically just popcorn yourself or however you guys best see fit.
I'm sorry, are we on the advice question?
Yes, so just in regards to mentorship, I basically combined those two questions for both of you, for both of you guys, to open up the panel to everyone. And so in regards to mentorship, for all of you guys, how important is mentorship once foster youth connect from, exit from the system? And could you provide some advice to others on better ways that they can provide mentorship to, transitional age youth?
I really respect the social workers who are doing this work. I do not have that background, but so in our world, I have found that it's helped to connect with young people over a doing exercise, over doing something together. So a concrete goal. I always ask, what can I do for you? How can I help you? That's always been a question in every conversation. Why are we meeting today? And I think in building the mentorship relationship, it takes time. I've had two influential mentors in my life over 20 years, and I couldn't have done it without them, but it takes a lot of work and time and investment, and to get to that trust point, because eventually you'll need that so that when things are happening, they trust you and you can really make that impact. So I find that tends to be something I'm very conscious of, like, how can we do something together that will give a student, a youth, the confidence to see, like, hey, I can do this. I might need help, but we'll do it together, or we'll, consult with Lucy, and then I'll take it. And then I have, created this opportunity of where they can own it. So it's not just advice giving. It's not just talking at them. It's talking with them and developing that and being human. This year in particular was really difficult for me professionally and personally. Our organization grew a lot and I worked myself to the ground. And I have learned that by opening up and being more human with the students I work with, sharing more personal things, which, my HR background and I never used to do, that has actually helped humanize the relationship. So it's not only just talking about what the scholar is going through, but it's showing them that I too am human. And that has created all kinds of trust and new ways to communicate with students. And I think just being able to share, like, the way you show up to your mentee. Maybe you're having a bad day. Maybe things are going on in your life, and really creating the human experience together, because that's what it is. It is a human experience. It is not another forced relationship, an adult to a youth who might need you. You might need them more than they need you, and you don't even know it. So I think those couple of things have really helped me.
Want me to go? Okay. Yeah.
Yes, you guys can just unmute yourself for this question, and anyone can chime in about mentorship and advice people who serve foster youth.
So for me, I feel like professionally or maybe just personally, it's helped me a lot, whether that is making certain decisions, like real life decisions that happen, right? Maybe you're not liking your job, and you be like, you would tell your mentor, like, I don't like this job, I'm thinking about quitting. And they'd be like, I don't think that's a good decision. Don't you got rent to pay? So, not that I would ever just do that, but you might really be unhappy in a situation, but it's temporary and you just have to figure that out. But it just helped me make certain decisions as far as not necessarily being impulsive with making decisions, but like having someone to talk to about A and B and how to strategize it as much as they can, because ultimately it's still our decision. We're adults. Nobody's gonna like baby us, but it's a luxury to have someone to bring this to your intention. So I feel like that's just been a big help. Or whether if some opportunities come my way, I can share certain opportunities without in fear. I don't know, jealousy from past trauma, right? Not necessarily the mentor will bring that, but it's just like, how do I like, I don't know, like recently the AA and ACP just reached out for me to submit. It's not yet, I'm gonna speak into existence, but to be a photographer for the award show, paid though, not just show up for the red carpet, paid. And I'm like, oh my God, like they asked me for my quote, and I'm like, what do I say? Having a mentor say, well, don't lowball yourself. You're like, what you mean don't lowball yourself? And I'm like, it's my first time working with them. I'm like, so it is just like, it's a lot that goes into it, that you have to have people that believe in you, that speak positivity and like genuinely has your back, and it goes a long way. But before I go off on a tangent again, yeah, both personally, whether it's career-wise, it's helped me a lot make certain decisions along the way throughout this year to like just continue to set myself up better, next year to 2023 is like game time. Keep going, right? We alive and we here a new day to make decisions, better decisions for ourselves. So yeah, mentorship goes a long way. I mean, you can help us as much career-wise, personally, it helps us. It goes a long way. Vice versa though, too, right? You talk to your mentor about whatever and they open up to you about certain things, and you meet certain people that they know, or it's just like it goes back and forth too, though. You helping them too. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think I agree with everything Lucy said. I think for me personally, as a mentor and what we do, I think there's a place of connecting as humans, like, because we're humans being and humans doing, right? And there's a tendency to just come in with all this plan and without really even knowing who that young person is, knowing what they like, who they are, who their identity is. I think that's key to understanding and finding that connection, that human to human connection. Like, Raquel's a mom, I know that, let's start there. Or Autumn's a mom, or Dominique likes photography, and not just likes photography, he is a photographer. So it's like we can assume things and make recommendations on a generality when we don't even know who these young people are. You haven't even taken the time to have a conversation. So I think at the end of the day, let's go to lunch. Let's just talk as people, back to back, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do. And because I think to Lucy's point, yeah, having something to work on and to kind of focus on a goal and accomplishing things are important and critical. But we can't do that if I don't know who you are. I'm assuming that I know, but I really haven't taken the time. I haven't taken the time to kind of get in your world and find out who you are, as much as you allow me, right? Because I don't want to, push and force myself. Like Lucy said, we try to force all this stuff on you. And it's like, Dominic, you need lotion. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, no, I use oil. Like he uses oil. And I'm thinking, oh, I got lotion for you. You know what I mean? So I think it's like trying to figure out and taking the time, right, to get to know young people. Me and Tamar had a Zoom not too long ago. I'm taking the time to get to know her as well. And like you say, it takes time, but we have to give space for that time and also be aware, right, that I need to make time and also to share who I am as well, like to be vulnerable. Hey, I'm going through it right now. God bless you, Lucy, for taking time, right? I'm going on a 3-week vacation sabbatical as well. starting next week, because I need that for my wellness. You know, I'm a caretaker for my mom. I'm very vocal about that to my young people, and they're always filling my well up too. Like, I don't got it today for you. Like, I really don't. You know, if you could pray for me or send me a text message, I need encouragement too. And I think when we connect in that human way, young people know how to give and they know how to receive. And that's important, to be able to replenish someone else's well at the same time, because you all have so much to give. And for Dominique, you know, showing up for that event, it meant a lot beyond the work, brother. Beyond that, you showed up and you brought your excellence to it, and it made a difference, right? And I appreciate you for that. And I know I thanked you, but I'm thanking you now and telling you how much that meant. And I know I made a comment to you because I was feeling bloated, right? So I'm being 100 with y'all, right? On one day of the event, I was like, delete all the pictures where I look fat, you know what I mean? And he's just like, you look beautiful. And in that moment, I needed that. So thank you.
Oh, this is, yeah. I'm gonna get off of this and just cry. Maybe because I needed this like air today. I think it's super, super important. Everything that Lucy said head on is super, super important. That humanity piece is super important. Too often, in society, we teach young people how to wear masks. You have to wear a mask to survive. You have to wear a mask to assimilate. We have to code switch. That we bury ourselves so deeply that sometimes we don't even know who the hell we are right now. And in our space, in our working space, and in our space, we create a space where people don't have to wear a mask. You can come in fully as who you are and say, like you said, if we're having a bad day. Leadership can be dehumanizing. And you always think in terms of power. And what people don't realize is that when you come into this type of work, especially when you're about uplifting people and demographics and communities that typically don't have power, they still see and project you in this powerful position because you're a leader. And so it's so important to stand in your humanity so that these young people can see you and not see you as an image, but see you as a person. And I always told our young people, don't get distracted by those pictures. I said, literally, you on Facebook and you might see your leaders and they winning awards and, you know, they're in the picture with these important people. I said, don't get distracted by that. I said, literally, we are TLC, we are New Edition. We're doing the song, we're doing the dance, we're winning the awards, we're dressing up for the picture, and we're struggling in the background. And we're struggling in the background. Let's be real about it. So don't get distracted by those pictures. We all have our own families, our own human elements that we're going through, and we're still showing up every single day. You all have your things that you're going through, the barriers, the stresses, and the trauma that you bring, and you're still showing up for yourself every day. And as long as we're meeting each other in the middle and respecting and valuing each other's humanity, then we stand to learn a lot from each other. I'm not there just to teach you. You're teaching me every single step of the way because you're teaching me how to be a better human being. You're teaching me how to communicate better with young people. You're teaching me how to lean into discomfort. And we say lean into discomfort and not disrespect, you know? And it can get disrespectful sometimes, you know, when you're working with young people. And that's when you have to take a step back because the human in me, you know what I'm saying? Let's be real, the human in me want to show up as a human. But you have to remind yourself, these kids have already went through enough trauma. They don't need my trauma added on. We have to be better. We have to be better. You guys are, to me, when it comes to this mentorship work, the best stories come from the hardest places. The best leaders, the best minds come from the hardest places. And the gentleman in that suit has way more means to be nefarious than that young man or that young woman in a do-rag or with a bonnet on her head or whatever. That person has a better story. And as long as you know how much power exists in them and give them spaces to just breathe, just be, just grow, not get rejected because they have a bad day. See, they reject something that doesn't belong to you. And so we have to be stronger than what society teaches us how to be when it comes to these young people. We have to not embody the systems we're fighting against. And we have to see the humanity in each other and know that we have permission to not be perfect. And so I just think, you know, creating spaces for these kids, again, to elevate. I believe in giving young people extraordinary experiences. So Yusuf doing his documentary, winning a $50,000 grant. Yusuf has flown all around the country this year. Last year, we could not get his parole officer to let him do nothing. He's been all around the country this year doing advocacy for foster care. He sees a different world from the one that he knows. I'm so proud of him. And I think it's also, and I'm gonna shut up, wrap it up. I'm sorry, y'all. Knowing, and Yusuf, I'm talking to you in love and all the young people that we mentor. It's okay to know when this mentorship has exhausted. That doesn't mean that you lose the relationship. It doesn't mean that you lose the support, but it means that we connect you to new mentors to take you to the next level that you need to go to. And so it's so important that we respect and value the terms that life give us with each other. I'm gonna have your back for the rest of your life.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm just so happy. And I wanted to say something that was very important. I think that really relate the social workers and the attorneys too, because they get these papers. And imagine if like Miss Stewart or like my social worker, Jean Torres, who I always shout out, that was great to me, just went off of what they saw on the paper, all of the things that people told them about me. When Miss Stewart met me, I low-key was just coming out of juvenile hall, out of the juvenile hall system. And so, it's just really, really crazy. Or that I actually went to juvenile hall during my senior year, and they actually had to come save me. Like, and imagine, like, all of your mentors, your principal of your high school, your teachers of your high school sitting there, trying to help advocate to get you out of jail, so that you can be able to go to college, because they actually saw the value. So I wanted to chime in and just say, just stop listening to folks. Like, stop believing what you hear. Stop believing, based off of the experiences that you saw, that the different attitude of the person that you met in that day. You don't know what people be going through. And like, a lot of times people were calling me angry, and saying like, Raquel, you this way and you're so mean and you're unapproachable. And it's like, well, I have to be like this. Like, you guys don't know, every day I literally was waking up fighting. And school really was like the only safe space that I had. And I didn't even feel safe there, because now I'm getting in trouble because I'm ditching school, but I'm ditching school because I got to go across the street to wash my clothes. And nobody knows this. I'm ditching school because this is the only window of opportunity I got to go get something good to eat before I got to go back to this foster home where they got locks on their refrigerators and their doors and they controlling what we do, like, and so I'm so grateful for all of you guys and all of the hard work that you have put in the system and to supporting foster youth like us, because, it didn't even dawn on me, and Ms. Stewart chimed on me having a child. It didn't even dawn on me that I was living in survival mode until I had my daughter and like snapped out of it. Like, I'm not going to be floating around from couch to couch with my kids. Like, I need financial stability. I need, to be able to reach back in the community and help folks. And so I just wanted to just say thank you guys so much. I'm so grateful for you all. We have about 30 more minutes, but I want to save time. So I'm going to combine the last two questions just so that we can, so that everybody can have the opportunity to chime in. And so I want to speak openly about youth who have been abandoned, that have been disappointed. I know, like for me, when I met Miss Stewart, I didn't believe her. She's like, I hear for you. I love on you. I love kids, and it's like, okay, well, that's the 99 person I met that said that. And 98 of them already in left as soon as I caught an attitude or they ain't like what I was saying, And so, what about the kids that are guarded? The ones that have been disappointed, the ones that have felt abandoned, that it's hard for them to cultivate relationships. It's hard for them to open up to people because they have been disappointed and let down so many times by so many folks, And so, I feel like I came across so many people in my childhood, Miss Stewart, Miss Johnson, like, and a couple of additional people, it's not a lot of people that I really, could depend on, like, and so how how did your person what is it, what was that experience like? What is it like to like try to cultivate those relationships, for our mentors, how do you approach those type of challenges? You know, what's different when you have to give an extra little hug? You know, Ms. Stewart, I'm not sure if you had these experiences with Dominique, but I know you had these experiences with me. You know, what was those challenges like? What was different, you know, that made you say, you know what, this girl, she just need a little Jesus, and I'm gonna give her some holy oil, but I'm gonna keep on keeping on because I believe in her. You know, what was it? Like, you know, how did you guys approach those challenges? And for Tamar and Yusuf, I believe that Dominique had to step out. But for Tamar and Yusuf, how you know, how was that for you? You know, actually, you know, putting your guard down and allowing them to, you know, allowing your heart to open up and create a space for them to be, you know, welcomed into, you know, your life. So, I'll pass it to you. I think you was getting ready.
I don't know, like Raquel, like I was definitely the same. I still am like I was really angry growing up, right? And then now that I'm an adult, I can't really have, and I have a son, you know, I don't want to reflect that anger onto him. So now I am totally like, oh my gosh, like a really bad early 2000s rom-com, like woe is me, play my violin. Like that's just really truly been like where I kind of shifted my anger, right? Like just like I'm very pessimistic. I'm not angry anymore. I'm very pessimistic. And I come off very optimistic, you know, and I am optimistic, but at the same time, I have this like very pessimism view, like an optimistic attitude, but with a pessimistic view. And I feel like really defining those things is really important for how like I view life, you know, and I've been trying to make it all optimistic, but you know, the reality is life is not optimistic all the time. And I know that for me, growing up, like I had zero trust for adults, you know, they all had let me down and, you know, did me even dirty half the time, like to a child. And I actually did go to a Christian school growing up for a time, and I went through a lot of religious trauma and a lot of trauma being in foster care while I went there. And just looking back on that now and how they treated me, and you know, like how everyone knew I was in foster care, and like I went to school with all these like, you know, wealthy families, and there's me, you know, the girl who like parents couldn't take care of her. I don't even know. But I remember just going through that trauma and then how they viewed me and put labels on me, right? Like label after label after label. I remember like feeling for the longest time like I was just gonna be a drug addict out on the streets, you know, like at like 12 years old, I believe this about myself. And it's because of what adults told me I would be. And I remember like just like I would almost try to prove people right. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I know a lot of people who've been through trauma do this, but like, you're like, fine, well, you don't believe in me. Well, then I'm just going to prove you right. Even though looking back, I'm like, that is so ridiculous. You know, like that's not how it should be, but that's just how it is. And as someone who's now works with former foster youth and Tay youth and teen parents, you know, I look and I'm like, I would never tell a 12-year-old things like that, you know, like if they're going through trauma, like you'd think that you'd want to help them out, right? And you'd want to be their cheerleader, which leads me to my point of how important it is to have those cheerleaders in your life, you know, the people who are going to root for you, the ones who are going to just always be by you and uplift you and tell you the positive things that you might see in yourself, but you might not like actively think on it, you know? And I feel like it's hard when you don't trust people, because every time someone like does say like compliments you or says something kind, or like you always kind of doubt yourself, you know, you're always kind of like looking in the mirror, not even that, but like just like I don't know, right? Like you just don't trust even the opportunities they're giving you, like you're just expecting them to fail. And it's like living off like that forever, it's really draining and time consuming. And having people in your life and those mentors to really be like, I'm gonna wait for you to like, I don't know, like see it in yourself, you know, like they're pushing you, but at the same time, they're letting it naturally flow, I think is so important, because, you know, you don't want it to be like fake. And I feel like so much of the corporate world is really fake, you know, like they're not all the relationships are going to be authentic and real and deep. You're not going to have that with everyone. Sometimes it is just going to, you know, be like someone goes in and out of your life and that's all they kind of were. And that's okay. But I think that trying to grasp on those relationships and those deep connections when you can is so important, and it's going to make the difference for yourself. And I think that the mentors in my life they've all educated me, they've all taught me different things that I never knew, you know, like even basic life skills. I mean, my mom, she was on welfare and a drug addict, and then my dad was a musician, a failed musician, and then a construction worker, and wasn't in my life, you know, 5 to 6 days out of every week for the time that I lived there. and I had no adults telling me, like, believing in me, you know, like no one. And it was just like me and my failed dreams. So I think that having the mentors in my life and Lucy has shown me that you need to follow your passion, you know, like you can relive your old passions, but you can also sprout new ones, and having them like water your little garden. So that was long, but I'm really happy about that question. Thanks, Raquel.
Yes, so mine isn't as long, but I know personally for me, so like I just finished my documentary this week, and when we were interviewing some of the people, some of the things that they were saying, they were like, Yusuf was a very difficult kid to work with because of, oh, is my connection good? Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so when I was finishing up my documentary this week, and one of the things that they were saying was I was very difficult because of me not trusting, me feeling like people were going to leave. And one of the things that they said was I would test people and say certain things and do certain things because I didn't trust. And part of that came from just growing up in the foster care system, just being lied to, being told one thing, people telling me, oh, you're gonna go back to your mom, all you have to do is this, and then here I am in another foster home way out in the country, far away from my mom. So it's just like that's what developed some of those trust issues, and not being willing to open up, or things like that. So when they're trying to ask me questions to put me on medication, and they're asking me like real personable questions, and I'm giving them the short end of the stick because I don't trust you. What are you over there writing on that paper? You're just asking me questions, and you're just writing down, what is this all about? So that's some of the things that I've had to deal with. It is not opening up, allowing people in, and it takes a lot. I have to really see that you're somebody who really cares. Like again, in my documentary, one of the things that they were saying was, so I would say stuff like, "Are you just here for the money? What are you here for?" And a lot of times people are in it for the wrong reasons. And I was one of those kids who would call you out on it on the spot, and expose an adult. And so that's one of the things that they said would make it difficult to work with.
Well, you keep on exposing them. You keep on exposing them and calling them folks out. So I'm gonna be right here with you, calling them out every chance I get, and creating these platforms like this so that we can talk about the real, stories and experiences that we had in the system that they try to silence us from speaking about. So Yusuf, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you and all of the things that you, contribute and work on as it relates to the foster to justice pipeline and our council. I know you're gonna just be you're already adding so much value to the program, and so just thank you so much. Lucy, Marquita, Sid, did you guys have anything that you guys wanted to chime in and about the challenges that you guys faced, and how did you guys approach those challenges or those challenging foster youth that needed the extra support and the extra loving?
Yeah,
I
I
think,
want to
oh,
chime
go
in.
ahead. Sid.
I
I'm
think
sorry.
that youth have a right to be guarded. They have a right to be guarded based on their experiences. And I'm not in a rush. I'm here. I think you have a right to be guarded. You have a right to survey and watch and wait and make sure someone is consistent and they're not, they say they are who they say they are. And I think when someone's consistent and they mean well, they're going to be the same in January. They're going to be the same in July, come December, the next January. It's going to be a consistency that over a while there's evidence for you to trust. There's evidence to start saying, oh, you know what? She said what she said she was going to do, and she did that. Okay. Then there might be another opportunity. Watch people. Do they keep their word? Do they show up? Like Lucy says, I hold young people to time too. Like, no, you're showing up for you. Don't show up late for you, but I think watch, right? But I think patience is very key in mentoring, because you have to be the same every day. You have to be consistent. Well, you have to have patience because you don't owe me anything. You don't owe me anything, right? It's a privilege to hold space in your life. It's a privilege to get to know you, Tamar and Dominique and Raquel. And Dominique is guarded. If I'm being honest, right? Like I'm still developing a relationship with him. He has a right to be. And I'm honored to be here that he invited me here today. So I don't have a problem with young people who are guarded, who are protecting their hearts and their souls and their minds. If I'm a person that has your best interest in mind, I'll wait. I'll be here. Like Marquita said, I'm gonna be here for the rest of your life. My number hasn't changed in 15 years and it won't. Most youth know my number from the times we worked together, but my number has always been the same and I'm always gonna be here. And it doesn't matter if you're open like a book or you're closed sometimes, you know, I'm gonna be here. And I hope that Dominique knows, and any other youth that is naturally like that because of what they've gone through. And that's okay. I don't have a problem with it. I think when someone is trying to rush a relationship, because it's a relationship, right? And what I realized is that beyond mentorship, I have a friendship with these young people. That's valuable. And friendships are take both of us contributing. And I respect your space and what you need. And if you have one positive thing to say about me, and I have one positive thing to say about you, that's where we start and we grow. But every relationship is different. Like I think Marquita said, and Lucy, they're all different. And so I'm meeting you where you are. And if we're taking baby steps, then I'm right there with you. If we put on some skates, I'm right there with you, you know? If we're surfing, I'm right there with you, you know? And I just want you to know, you know, mentoring, social workers, attorneys, they're all in it for you, right? At some point, you know, I know there may be some outliers that may not be, and I understand that, right? Because the system is not perfect. But in the end, judge someone by their character, right? Their genuine intention. How consistent are they? And if you can trust that, then take a step. Let them in, you know, take a step.
I think it's so important to allow young people to have their own autonomy. And I believe in organic relationships. So I don't force. I open up the door and I let you know I'm here for you. I show up. I make sure I'm consistent. I understand I am not a one size fits all mentor, and neither are these young people. They are not a one size fits all mentee. So it's so important that they connect with the people that resonate with their spirit and their souls. And so when those organic relationships happen, when we bond like that, it's organic, it's real, and it's authentic. And I think that consistently showing up, I don't make promises that I can't keep. And if I can't keep a promise, I'm immediately getting on the phone going, hey, this is the reason why this is not going to happen. So that they don't feel like here's another person selling me a dream and lying. I dream with them. Like we create dreams together. I remember a couple of years ago, I had won an award and I asked Yusuf to walk on the stage with me. And the reason why I always bring young people into these spaces with me, because I want them to understand this is the place where you will go. I want you to be in these spaces because I want you to get comfortable here. And so when we got on the stage together, I whispered in his ear, I said, say something because this is going to be you. And that next year I was able to go to DC and give him an award for the work that he did. And it was one of the most proudest moments of my life because we were just on that stage that previous year. And here we are. I didn't know it was going to happen that fast, but here we are and him winning an award. I think it's so important that we are consistent, that we give them the space to see if are you a person that I really vibe with? That we build that relationship in ways that are organic. And again, showing up, like Yusuf said, if he was having a nervous breakdown in the middle of the night and he pick up the phone and call me, I'm gonna answer the phone because I am desperately afraid of that one missed call being the one that I should have been on. Now, it's not gonna happen every single time, but he knows 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna answer that phone. He knows that if he's in a rough situation, he can pick up the phone and I'm gonna do the best that I can to get him out of that situation. And he also knows that the best thing I can do is teach him how to stand on his own 2 feet. And he's a young man now, he's an adult. And we do have that mother-son relationship, but I also respect the boundaries of understanding that he is not my child. I treat him like he's my child, but he's not. And so I also respect the fact that he is his own man and the decisions that he makes is his own. So again, I listen a lot. I lean into discomfort. When the situation gets rough sometimes and we rah-rah, he has to know that I'm not gonna walk away. I'm not gonna turn my back on him. I fight with, he know my son. We bang like this and I'm not gonna leave him. So I'm never gonna leave you. And so just being consistent and listening and knowing that I'm not always right either. Like me being an adult don't mean that I have all of the sage advice. Sometimes I'm wrong. And when I'm wrong, I apologize. And I affirm him and any young person I mentor to let them know, okay, I was wrong. I didn't get that right. And again, that goes back into owning your humanity. And when you do stuff like that, when you're consistent, when you humble, when you are owning your own humanity in this journey, they can look at you and be like, this is a person I can depend on because they're not trying to be something they're not. They're just being themselves. And when they are themselves, I can be myself. We have to create comfortable spaces for these young people just to be. And just being is not being the perfect mentee. It's making mistakes. It's tripping up. It's going backwards. It's moving forward. Because we're doing the same thing. I ain't gonna never sell the dream that I don't make mistakes. Like, I ain't gonna never sell the dream like I'm this perfect human being. I am not. I'm not gonna give him that. And so I think it's so important that we have authentic mentorship so these young people can see us making mistakes too and seeing us recovering from them because it lets them know that they can too.
Thank you. Lucy, did you want to add in? Okay. Perfect. Well, my last question to you guys, and I just want to thank you all again for being vulnerable and opening up and sharing with us all of this needed advice and all of these needed tools that people can use. We shared a lot of advice to our social workers and our resource parents and those who serve foster youth on ways that they can better connect and cultivate positive relationships and outcomes like you guys all have had. But I want to specifically speak to the former foster youth out in the world that's right now yearning for that one person or seeking that one person to connect with, seeking that person that, can take them to the next level or at least guide them, and, not abandon them. And I want to ask you guys, what advice would you give to that youth right now, that is in need of that love, that's in need of that support, in addition to being open, and understanding? What's that, key piece of advice that you all would like to offer that foster youth or current or former foster youth in need of that additional love and support in finding their person? And we can start with Tamara, and then anyone who wants to answer the question can unmute themselves.
I would say that's really hard, actually. Just say yes. Like I've talked to a lot of professionals at this point, and just say yes to opportunities. Just say yes to people. You'll never know until you try, and it really is about going through those negative relationships too. That's a big part of it. And letting them grow, like just saying yes to yourself, saying yes to the opportunity, saying yes to love, and saying yes to just where you want to be, and when you look back, just keep in mind that who you were doesn't mean it's where you're going to be, and doesn't mean it's who you have to be. I think that your past plays a purpose, but for me, at least, the best advice I could say is don't be stuck in that person you were when you were a child or a teenager. Be greater than that, like take those experiences, advocate for them, make changes, but keep in mind that you have the power to change your life. And if there's people that are going to help you get there and do that for you, just don't say no to them. Say no to other things, but don't say no to those people. And it's okay to go back. I think that as humans, we are really stubborn, especially when it comes to being wrong in like relationships. And I always see on like TikTok, like people complaining, like, oh, that friend, I really just want to talk to them. Like, then just do it. Like you have one life, relatively short. If you want to talk to someone you haven't connected with for a while, just do it. The worst they can do is just not answer. So I think show up for yourself and show up for those relationships would be my advice.
Yusuf, Ms. Stewart, Dominique, Lucy, did you guys have anything that you want to chime in or add into that final question? I seen you
Can
say
y'all hear
something.
me?
Oh, Dominique, I can hear you.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
In regards to just providing advice to former current foster youth that are out in the world right now, seeking, that one person, and that won't abandon them, that will provide them support and always show up for them. Could you give them some advice on, how they can better, be open and understanding so that they can cultivate a
Okay.
positive?
I think for me first, allow to give people grace. We all are human. We are not perfect. Regardless of labels of foster care or mentor, we're all human, right? So we just meet certain people in our life that help us along the way. And regardless of how we may not see it in the meantime, or maybe we notice it right in front of us. It takes a lot. But I would say just go into any relationship as far as mentor or whatever relationship with an open heart, and an open mind. And it takes time to be vulnerable, You want to talk about this, you want to talk about that, or how maybe it's career focused, but this is what I'm really going through. I can't worry about getting the camera because I'm worrying about getting the car. I can't worry about going to this event because I don't even know how I'm gonna get there. So those are the real conversations that need to be had. Don't hide the challenges you face in the time that you're talking to someone in need. They might not know you in need because I'm good. Good morning. Like, I'll see you tomorrow, 1:00. Okay, bet. um, so just being open to vulnerability and try to be as honest as possible. Even though I know that takes time, it's still up to you to, let the walls down, or you just have to go in it. You have to just trust that it's gonna lead you into a better space with that person. So yeah, I hope that touched on that a little bit. Thank you.
So I would personally say you have to be right within yourself. You have to be ready. You have to be ready for that because sometimes you might not be in that stage in your life where you're ready to allow someone in close. You might not be ready. You might not be mentally ready for that. So I would just say, first off, be ready, be prepared, allow and like Dominique said, give yourself grace and space and just be ready for it. Because it's not otherwise it's not gonna work. Because Raquel, you could come in and be the most loving and caring person in the world, but if I'm not ready, then it's just not gonna work. Because I'm not gonna let you in. I'm gonna constantly reject you and reject your love. So I just say it starts with you first.
Thank you, Yusuf. Thank you so much. And so we have a little bit of time. What piece of advice do you have? So there are some questions in the audience. So if you guys can get into the chat for me as we go through like the little last slides that we have. I want to thank all of our wonderful panelists. Shout out to all of you guys, especially our mentors. I'm just walking in you guys' shadow, and I'm hoping that I can, be the person, be that person to some of my program participants that you guys have been to the Tamars and the Dominiques and the Yosefs of the world. Tamara, I see you with your hand raised, so I want to give you a chance to chime in before we seg off and I get ready to close out. So please let me.
Thank you. Sorry, it's really quick, but I just had to say something, Raquel, because you are hosting this and all the, I love the Youth Voice Rising events. So I just want to say, like, something I even learned from Raquel recently is like, sometimes you're going to burn bridges, but you can mend them, like those are things that I think are also valuable. And Raquel, like you've shown me so much, so props to you too. I feel like you're everyone's mentor. Yeah, really, we're all your little mentees. So I just wanted to thank you for just being you and having these things for us to speak. If it wasn't for people like you, we wouldn't be able to even have this conversation. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm trying. I learn from the best, and I hope that I can continue to foster and cultivate a relationship with Lucy and Marquita, so that we can get together and figure out ways that we can join forces to help be, the persons to some other foster youth, in your prospective cities and states. And so I just want to thank you guys again so very much. This was emotional. I want you guys to unpack. It's a lot to unpack. So please take time after this event to, get your emotions together and, get the mental health, self-care-ness that you need. I want to pull up the PowerPoint again so I can just get ready to close out. And so in the chat, you will see us dropping a post-evaluation survey. Please feel free, and I'm begging everyone, not really begging, but just please feel free to fill this out. This just kind of lets me know as the program manager what I could be doing to facilitate and better events like this to amplify the voices of foster youth, how I can create more spaces like this for social workers and attorneys and resource parents and mentors to be welcome and feel that this is not like a bashing session, and by no means, but we create these spaces so that you guys can hear from us with the lived experiences on better ways that you guys can support us, in your perspective field so that, we can ultimately change the world, or at least have some type of little bit of impact so that youth don't continue to be, pipeline through these different systems after foster care, homelessness, juvenile justice, going through mental health and having to deal with that substance issue, substance abuse, being trafficked, all of these different things that we've experienced. This post evaluation helps me find ways to continue to uplift and cultivate those conversations. And so please fill this out for us so that I can just be aware and have some awareness. We have a few events coming up today. I am so proud of this virtual screening that we're going to have. If you have not registered, please register. We're going to be talking to we're going to be watching a virtual film and hosting a virtual film screening where we'll be meeting some panelists who were in foster care and pipeline through the juvenile justice system, like Yosef, like myself, and talk about the experiences that they had and what social workers, attorneys, and resource parents could be doing to better cultivate those relationships and help so that youth or foster youth are not continuing to be pipelined through systems. And so I would love to have everybody there. This is going to be an incredible event. And so please register when you see your follow-up in your follow-up email. All of this will be available to you. Youth Voice is hosting our annual writing and poetry contest. We are bridging the gap between foster care and juvenile justice and placing a strong emphasis on those experiences of foster youth, what it was like for them, what led them to the juvenile justice system, what reunification and the lack of could have been like, how resource parents and bio parents could have came together to cultivate and work together so that they wouldn't be pipelined through those systems. And so if you have program participants that like to write or you might be interested in writing, please share this link with them. The grand prize for the writing submission, for the written submission is $1,000, and our first place prize for poetry is $500. And we also do honorable mentions and everything. And so I'm very much so looking forward to having all of you guys here and you guys sharing all of our wonderful events with your program participants. Last but certainly not least, I have tried my best, and I'm doing my best to continue to grow the Youth Voice program, the Youth Voices Rising program, excuse me, so that we can continue to serve and empower more youth in 2023 year and beyond. We currently operate in specific states, but I work with foster youth nationally. And so I want to ask that if you are interested in seeing webinars like this, helping our youth with, just contributing to our program capacity and helping, empower youth through their journalism training skills and program, please support Youth Voices Rising. I literally have set the stone and created the match and laid the blueprint for organizations to step up and start paying foster youth for their experiences, stop being driven by deliverables and start being driven by passion. And so that's what we're doing over here. Every panelist is paid for with live experience. Our journalism stories, we pay up to $350 for stories just for foster youth writing 700 words, sharing about their experiences. But we do this because we want to not only empower foster youth that are out in the road experiencing the things that they are going through, but we want to educate and continue to amplify the voices of foster youth, of those who work in spaces that serve y'all, that serve us, so that you guys can find better ways and better methods and hear from the horse's mouths of us who actually experience those. So if you're interested in donating to the Youth Voices Rises program, please feel free. All donations up till December 31st will be doubled and matched. And so this is just an opportunity to continue to support Foster Media Connection Youth Voices Rising program, so that we can continue to support and amplify the voices of foster youth. And so with that being said, I just want to thank everybody again for being here today. To stay informed about all of the wonderful things that we're doing here, please follow our newsletter and please stay in touch by following us on our social media platforms. I am so in awe with our panelists today. Special shout out to our mentors who joined this conversation and offered some great advice that so many people that serve foster youth can take away from this experience to share with other folks that they work with, and just be an advocate. And so I just want to say I love you all. Shout out to Better Youth. I'm rocking my Better Youth sweater because I'm hardly home, but I'm always repping. And so just know that I love all of you guys. I appreciate all of the work that I'm doing. I never thought that this would be like the life that I would have stepping back into the foster care system. I think I did everything to hide that I was in foster care. I was so embarrassed. I didn't want people to know about my lived experience. And now I see that I went through some of those things so that I can use my story to be able to help uplift so many people, that have experienced the things that I have. And I couldn't be able to do none of this without the Tamars of the world, the Yusufs, the Dominiques, this Miss Stewarts who met me when I was 17, when I was crazy. And so Marquita, Lucy, thank you so much for all of the work that you do and the ways that you show up for foster youth. I look to work with you guys and partner with you guys more. Shout out to all of our social workers, our foster youth, our community leaders, our attorneys in the audience that show up today. God bless everybody. And I look forward to seeing you guys next year, where we will be having so many different webinars, bridging the gap between foster youth and the impact the system has had on us. And so with that being said, happy Thursday to everybody. I hope that I can see you guys later on at our virtual screening. And with that being said, God bless everybody. Happy Thursday. And thank you all again. Shout out to all of our panelists and shout out to all of my program besties that was in the audience today, answering questions and representing for the program. And appreciate you guys.